Imagine a boy born inside a caravan, parked by the side of a road, whose family did not even have a proper place to live. That same boy is now the owner of a business empire, worth more than £1 billion, according to several sources. But this story was not simple at all. In the middle of his journey, he lost almost everything. At one point, he even had to live inside his own van, on the road. Today, we are going to talk about Alfie Best, the founder of Wyldecrest Parks, who is often called the gypsy billionaire in the media. In this video, we will see how a man who started with almost nothing, lost everything in the middle of his journey, started again, and eventually built a £1 billion empire. If you enjoy this kind of content, please gently press the like button. Let's begin. Alfie Best was born in 1970 in the town of Lutterworth in Leicestershire, England. But he was not born in a hospital. He was born inside a caravan parked by the side of a road. His family was part of the Romany gypsy community, and they had driven from East London the night before. In other words, his life began on the road while traveling from one place to another. His family was extremely poor. From a very young age, he had to work with his father. At just 8 years old, he went door to door with his father, looking for small jobs such as gardening and tarmacking. His normal school life did not last very long. He left school when he was only 12. He did not get much time to sit in a classroom and study, but by dealing with people on the streets, he learned something that books could not teach him: how to understand the real value of something and how to make a profit from it. Because he was born into a Romany gypsy family, he also had to face stigma and discrimination from society. But later in life, he repeatedly chose to speak proudly about his identity instead of hiding it. Just 2 years after leaving school, at the age of 14, Alfie started his first business, buying and selling old cars and vans. At an age when most teenagers were sitting in school classrooms, Alfie was learning how to buy an old car cheaply, repair it a little, and sell it for a profit. He started on a very small scale, one car, then another. But slowly, this small buying and selling business started to become a real business. As Alfie moved through his teenage years, his car and van business grew rapidly. At a very young age, he reached a lifestyle that most people his age could only dream about. His business was growing, money was coming in, and it seemed that his life was moving in exactly the right direction. During this time, he learned one basic business lesson: understanding the value of every pound and putting the profit back into the business. But success in real life never follows a straight line, and a very big shock was still waiting for Alfie, one that he was not prepared for. Around 1990, a major recession hit Britain. The car market, lending, and people's ability to spend money all went down at the same time. And because of this recession, Alfie's car and van business completely collapsed. The business he had built with his own hands over the years fell apart in a very short time. It was not only the business that disappeared. Almost everything he had went with it. This was one of the hardest chapters of Alfie's life. At just 20 years old, he had to live inside his own van. The young man who, only a short time earlier, had owned a successful business and lived independently, suddenly found himself without even a proper roof over his head. For many people, a moment like this could become the end of their story. But for Alfie, it was not the end. It was the beginning of another fight. While living in the van, Alfie realized where the future might be. At that time, Mobile phones were only starting to become popular in Britain, and it was a new industry with many opportunities. Alfie first got a job at a mobile phone shop. But he did not stay there for long. Within just a few weeks, he opened his own mobile phone store, and this was the beginning of his second rise. In only 18 months, he opened not one or two, but a total of 18 stores across London. Think about it. Only a year and a half earlier, this man had been sleeping in his van, and now he was running a real retail chain across London. This speed shows how quickly Alfie Best could adapt to a situation and how willing he was to take risks. After taking his mobile phone business to a successful level, Alfie sold it. Now he turned his attention to commercial property. His experience of caravans and mobile life from childhood slowly pushed him toward a special area, the mobile home park business. It was a sector that many people did not notice very much, but for Alfie, it was a world he already understood. In 2001, when he was around 30 or 31 years old, Alfie bought his first mobile home park, Lakeview Park, in Romford, Essex. By that time, his personal wealth was estimated at around £5 million. This was the moment when Wyldecrest Parks began, a company that later became one of the largest residential park operators in Europe. The interesting thing was that his experience of growing up in a caravan gave him an advantage in this business. He understood how these communities worked, what residents wanted, and how to make a park sustainably profitable. What had once been part of his childhood reality became one of his biggest business advantages. Over the following years, Alfie continued to buy mobile home parks one after another. Slowly, Wyldecrest Parks grew into a network of more than 100, and according to some recent sources, more than 120 residential and holiday parks across England, Wales, and Scotland. But he did not stop in the UK. In the United States, he also took 50% ownership in around 15 to 20 parks, valued at around £700 million. And it was not only mobile home parks. Alfie also built many other businesses. In 2018, he bought a golf and country club in Herefordshire. His portfolio also includes a hotel, Best Park Home Finance, Kyoto Clearance, an event management company called Wild Events, and Varum, a motorhome rental company known as the third largest motorhome rental company in the UK. He also owned East Thurrock United Football Club. To support residents, he created the Wyldecrest Charitable Trust. One important thing is that the entire business is still privately owned, meaning it has never taken investment from outside investors or funds. Also, the company's total debt has been kept below 10% of its assets. This is one of the main reasons Alfie can make quick decisions without pressure from outsiders. Today, the total portfolio of Wyldecrest Parks is reported by several sources to be worth more than £1 billion. Some reports mention a figure as high as £1.1 billion. However, some official lists, such as the Sunday Times Rich List, have listed his wealth at around £745 million in some years, meaning he was not fully a billionaire. So the exact number depends on how it is calculated, whether we are talking about his personal wealth or the total value of the entire group. In his personal life, Alfie now spends most of his time in Monaco, from where he manages the group. The daily business is now run by CEO Wasim Hanif, while Alfie himself serves as chairman, showing how developed and structured the business has become. He owns a 27-meter Sunseeker yacht named Wyldecrest, a private jet, and a helicopter that, according to one report, cost around £4.5 million. He is currently married to Emily Jane Bruce, and he has 2 children from his first marriage. A documentary about his life was made called Gypsy Billionaire, directed by Joel van der Molen. He has also written a book called Can Anyone Build a Property Empire? Yes, where he tells the story of his journey. In an interview, Alfie said that in the early days of his business, understanding the value of every pound taught him to save money, reinvest his income into the business, and focus on long-term growth instead of short-term profit. Even after the business became much larger, he continued to follow this principle. Instead of increasing his lifestyle expenses as his success grew, he put a large part of the profits back into the business. However, the journey of building such a large empire was not filled only with praise. In 2024, the BBC Panorama program aired an investigation into Wyldecrest Parks, where some residents made complaints about the maintenance of their parks. There were also disagreements about maintenance and licensing at some sites, and these issues were reported in local media. Some people have also questioned his billionaire status because some official rich lists did not show him as a full billionaire, but instead placed him in the multi-million-pound range. So, along with success, a large business empire also brings scrutiny and criticism. That is the reality, and a complete story should mention this side as well. So, what can we learn from the full story of Alfie Best? First, age is not always a barrier to starting. Starting a business at just 14 was a bold decision, but that courage helped build the foundation of his entire life. Second, failure is never always the final answer. A man who lost everything during a recession and lived in a van was able to open 18 stores in just 18 months. If he had the drive and the ability to quickly recognize new opportunities. Third, using your past experience can be one of the most important advantages. The boy who grew up in a caravan later transformed the caravan park business into one of the largest empires in Europe. His life experience became one of his biggest business advantages. And fourth, while growing a business, keeping control in your own hands can be important. By avoiding outside investment, keeping debt low, and slowly building the empire, this strategy gave Alfie full freedom to make his own decisions. The story of Alfie Best reminds us that no matter how difficult life becomes, it is possible to stand up again if you have the mindset to keep going and the ability to recognize new opportunities at the right time. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. You can also tell us in the comments which self-made businessman story you would like to see next. For more inspiring success stories like this, click right here and watch the next video too. See you in the next video.